Hey guys, I'm here with Wayne Burgess, who's the studio director for Jaguar Design, and he's responsible to a large extent for the car you see behind him, which is the brand new Jaguar I-Pace, the all-new all-electric Jaguar. So Wayne, let's kind of talk about the general design and how you how you were inspired to do kind of a cab forward design.
So yeah, this was a real opportunity for Jaguar Design to do something different. An electric architecture really allows us to move the big building blocks that constitute the car around. So you take the IC engine and the transmission out of the front of the car, and if you wish, you can slide the screen forward and extend the cabin. And what's great about cars like I-Pace is, when you look at it in profile, it's got this very fast forward dynamic cab forward profile to it, which makes it feel much more like a mid-engine supercar like our CX-75 show car than it does a conventional.
Yeah, let me show it to them so they can see it.
Sure.
Yeah,
So yeah, if you look at it in side view, the screen is pulled forward, flows into the bonnet, we have a short front overhang, and then you've got this almost monovolume feel to the cabin. So it has a very exotic look to it, which is quite different, and it's only made achievable by the fact that we've taken the IC engine out of the front of the car and pulled it forwards. We then kind of focused on giving the car really short overhangs. So we have big wheels, 22-inch wheels on this car, a short front overhang, the screen pulled right forward almost over the front axle center line. And one of the things we also really had to work with is giving the car the maximum possible range, which from a designer's point of view is about making it as aerodynamically efficient as possible. So that led us to develop some new elements of Jaguar's design language to deliver that. So if you come here, as you're getting into the vehicle, you look into the hood there.
Yeah, let me show them.
And you can see daylight through that vent in the hood. And that's actually an air duct that, if you follow me around here, at the front of I-Pace, you've got what appears to be sort of a very recognizable Jaguar grille. But of course, because it's an electric vehicle, it doesn't need to draw as much air as an IC engined car. But in actual fact, we still do take some cooling air for the motors and the batteries in there. But its main function is to actually channel air through the top of the grille and feed it through that duct. And that then accelerates the air over the screen, keeps it attached clears the wipers, keeps it attached over onto the roof and along the length of the car. The thing with minimizing drag is you've got to keep the air as attached and as uninterrupted as it flows over the car as possible. And a lot of the surfaces on I-Pace were created with that in mind. If you look down the body sides, they're very sheer. Jaguars historically have a lot of fuselage. We like to have a lot of Coke bottle on our cars. In other words, we like to nip them in at the waist and then swell them out over the haunches. It looks great. It's a very emotive design language, but it's not good for aero. You need the air to stay attached around the wheels, attached to the body sides, and you need it to stay attached for as long as possible when it gets to the rear of the car. So unlike traditional Jaguars, I-Pace has quite a square plan shape to the rear, with a very defined crease on the rear fender and the rear lens to really define where the air separates the car. You want it to leave at the furthest most point rearward to minimize drag. So it takes quite a different approach to how we treat the surfaces on the car. Also, because it's an SUV, when you look here, SUVs are naturally quite deep in their body sides. So we introduced a graphical detail, the gloss black insert with the Jaguar script on it there, that actually gives a sense of movement, even though the car doesn't have plan shape, it doesn't have Coke bottle. We use that as a graphic device to give a sense of sculpture in the car and to break up the visual mass.
What's the coefficient of drag?
It's 0.29.
Which is incredible, right? So it's the lowest of any Jaguar SUV.
And if you reference that against F-Pace, which is a similar size conventionally engined SUV, F-Pace was best in class when we launched it. That was 0.34. This is 0.29. So it's quite an achievement for a car that cools efficiently and creates all of the downforce and reduces lift in the right areas. It performs very, very well.
Now you don't have a wiper in the back. How come?
Yeah, exactly. So again, we've managed the airflow over the rear screen so efficiently that as long as the car's moving forwards, it doesn't create turbulent air that soils the rear screen. So there's no need for a wiper. The engineers actually ran about 3 CFD tests on this just to confirm it. But the fact is, as long as the car's moving, the rear screen stays clean because it's so aerodynamically optimized. You come to the rear of I-Pace, and you've got a lamp graphic that is quite recognizably Jaguar. It's got that horizontal bias to it. It's inspired by the F-type lamp that has the horizontal bar intersecting the roundel, but we've modernized it. We've given it more of a chicane graphic, more of a technical treatment to the graphics of the rear of the car, but still very Jaguar in its overall feel. Dropping down to the rear, we have a very functional rear diffuser, and again the diffuser is the furthest point rearward on the car. That's keeping the air attached right until the last moment where it separates cleanly from the vehicle. Another benefit of electric vehicles is, with that battery pack on the underfloor, you naturally get a very smooth underfloor to the car, so we've been able to manage air over, down the sides and underneath I-Pace very efficiently, and we've been able to balance all of that out to make the car as optimal as it can be from an aero point of view. Now on the interior...
Yeah, why don't you go on I'll go in the passenger, you go in the driver's, because
Okay.
that's the more interesting side. By the way, guys, if you're wondering, this car starts at about $71,000, and if you get the first edition, it goes up to about $85,000. It has 240 miles of range, and it'll be available late this summer. So it's going to be a Tesla competitor. So let's look at the interior.
Yeah, so interestingly, with an electric vehicle, the controls are on the side of your side of the seat.
Yep.
If you want to push it back.
Yep.
Let me just draw your attention to the fact that this is our premium non-leather interior. So this is what we call Kvadrat, a lovely premium textile, because obviously some purchasers of electric vehicles, they want a non-leather option on the interior, so Kvadrat gives us that opportunity. But just talking about the dashboard architecture, when we set out to design the interior of I-Pace, clearly we were trying to make the car as visually differentiated on the interior as the exterior. But you know what? When you actually start putting in the building blocks that are required anyway, the big HVAC unit, the passenger airbag that defines where all of these surfaces on the dashboard need to be on your side of the car, the knee bolster that's there to restrain you in the unfortunate event of an impact, all of those are building blocks that have to be in the same place as a conventional vehicle. Therefore, you get a dashboard which is naturally quite conventional architecturally.
But you've done away with the buttons.
Absolutely. Yeah. So obviously there are 3 display screens in the car. Main instrument panel here obviously helps you manage the energy usage on the car, and you can see how you're driving when you're producing energy through regenerative braking. And I think that's part of the fun of driving an electric vehicle, particularly in single pedal mode. We talked about that earlier, whereby you can really see how much charge you're putting back into the battery pack. Wide aspect ratio touchscreen for the navigation systems,
10,
and then
10 inches, right? I believe this one.
11, I think.
11, okay,
Yep.
a little bit bigger.
And then climate controls here. Now you might ask, well, you've got no transmission tunnel, why have you got a console that looks like this? Well, of course, again, from a human factors point of view, you still need the controls for the heaters and air conditioning to fall readily to hand. Actually, and also, although we could completely vacate this space, why give up that opportunity for stowage and for, so, you know, in the center console area here, if you remove the cup holders, there's actually storage in there that you could fit 2 large bottles of water.
That's huge.
Yeah, 2 bottles of wine, a lady's shoulder bag, whatever. That's good usable storage where we would have had a transmission tunnel. Also, we will ultimately get capacitive charging in there for phones, so you've got storage under here as well. And the drive controls fall very readily to hand, so the drive neutral reverse features here, you can locate them without looking at them. And it still feels like a very driver orientated car, even though this is a new type of vehicle, it's electric, it still has that Jaguar feeling of sitting down in the car, having the controls fall readily to hand.
One of the unique things about this car is it'll actually go off-road, and you do have air suspension, so you can jack up the car and lower it with these buttons. And then of course you've got different drive modes.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, that's something that even as a designer that was part of the team that delivered this car, I'm fascinated by its capability on the road. I was lucky to go on the track in it yesterday. I did 4 laps in it, where its performance on the track with the torque that you can instantly summon from electric motors is like nothing I've ever experienced. And then you guys have been off-roading today. You've been wading in a river in an electric SUV. I mean, for me, I think I-Pace could define a whole new genre of vehicles, not just for Jaguar, but for the industry.
So this is my softball question. What's your favorite part of the design of the car? You know, what's the part that really speaks to you?
2 things really. On the exterior, yeah. I love the profile. I love the cab forward architecture.
Let's go back up. Yeah, because it's, you know, cab forward is something that is pretty unique in the industry. So let's look at it from kind of side profile, so you can see that windscreen goes so far forward. It's incredible, and it creates a lot of room inside.
Yeah, absolutely. So this cabin is kind of, as you can see, it's 2/3 the length of the vehicle. So this car has a footprint on the road about the size of a Porsche Macan. The cabin length is about the same as a Jaguar XJ long wheelbase. So you really do get massive benefits from the electrical architecture in it. So I love the fact that you get a fairly unique profile on the car. I also love the aerodynamic devices that have become part of the language. I love the fact that in a way we've repurposed a Jaguar grille at the front and turned it into an air duct. We've turned it into an aero device. For me, that's a really cool kind of going down the rabbit hole experience for designers, where we're like, we needed to make it aero, we needed to make it perform differently, and we've got a really cool solution. And then on the interior, I love the fact that you've got this tremendous sense of space in what's quite a compact car. A few people that have driven it now have said, I'm amazed how big it feels inside compared to the outside of it. And if you're a Brit and you watch Doctor Who, you'll understand what I mean by the TARDIS. Yeah. So I love that aspect of the interior. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Wayne. Guys, we've done a full review that's available right now on TFL Cars, so go check that out. We took it off-road, we took it on the track, like you said, and this was a design review. So once again, thank you for watching, and remember, check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and of course, real-world electric Jaguar reviews. See you guys next time. Ciao.